What's up, people? I am back for another video. We are going to be doing another revisionist history. Today, we're going to be doing it about Superman Returns because I am seeing a lot of revisionist history about it. We're all of a sudden acting like, kind of like I did with Jurassic Park 3, and I might make this a series, so we'll see if I can find like another movie. You know what? Actually, you know what? Fuck it. We'll have another movie. X3, because I have seen it a little bit with X-Men 3. Like, people, and this is more from people who react to it, because I watch some react channels, some. Not all, but some. And this is one I've seen. Like, X3 wasn't that bad, you know. Don't get me wrong. Dark Phoenix was terrible, but we gotta stop acting like that's the worst X-Men movie. I think it was already cooked after fucking Apocalypse, if you ask me. So we'll do a revisionist history about that one maybe next week. But today, and also, really quick, before I get into Superman, let's talk about F1. Because then I will be doing a video about that. I don't know what day yet. Maybe tomorrow night. If not tomorrow night, maybe Friday night. So if not tomorrow night, Friday night. But I will be talking about F1. But I guess really quick, F1 was really fucking good. I think it's probably my second favorite movie of the year. So, Final Destination, Bloodlines, F1, then Fight or Flight are probably like my top three right now. And F1 was really. It gave me everything I kind of wanted Superman to be. It was inspirational. Brad Pitt killed it. The cast killed it. Even the actor who played Joshua, who's like the younger racer. And I'm gonna be honest with you. It's Maverick with racing. That's basically what this movie is. You kind of have the similar theme of the older racer, who the only difference is Maverick was successful. This one, Sonny, who that's Brad Pitt's character, isn't successful. He gets made fun of a lot for his age, but then he proves them wrong. Even Joshua, who's the younger, kind of hot-headed racer, eventually learns to work with the team, and they both have to work together, and eventually they do. But Brad Pitt, there's some adversity, but he rises from it. It's everything I wanted Superman to be, and what I mean is that it's hopeful, it's inspirational. There's even a scene where Sonny gives a speech that I'm like, Superman would give that speech and it would hit. But because the Superman we got is not a piece of shit, but he's a cuck. And I'm not blaming David Cornswell, I'm blaming the writing all around that movie. So, actually, you know what I might do too? I might do a fixing on that movie. We might do a fixing on it. So it's probably not gonna be the next video though. I think I want to review F1, so that's probably gonna be the next review, and then we'll do the fixing. And I promise, guys, I will eventually start doing older movies again. It's just right now the schedule. It's easy. It's also too. We just got a bunch of new shit like. This week, some point, I got a review I Know What You Did Last Summer, whenever that one comes out, the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then next week. Actually, you know what? Next week, I might find an older movie to review. Because for the Cowman Reviews channel, we'll do Final Destination, but I don't necessarily think I'm going to review that here. So if I don't do that here, or I plan on not doing it here, I might, like, just I'll find some old movie to review and we'll get back into that. But for right now, it's just been easier to do newer movies. So, also, you know what we might do? Maybe, fuck it. Next week, we'll do, at some point, we gotta do, the original Naked Gun since, the new one's coming out August 1st. So, sometime next week. Because I think August 1st is a week after that. So, we'll do it, yeah, we'll do sometime next week we'll do the original Naked Gun. Probably later in the week, but yeah. So, but anyway, let's start off with the revisionist history. Superman Returns was one, I'll admit, I liked it at first because I saw it, I was 10 years old back in 2006. So I wasn't as, like, nitpicky with movies, and I wasn't like, I knew about bad scripts and all that. So I liked it at the time just because it was a Superman movie. But I rewatched it at like, I think 12 or 13. And man, I really realized how bad it was. Like, One, it is painfully boring. Like, it is painfully boring. Like, nothing happened. Outside of the plane scene, which was really good. And then there's a sequence where the bullet crushes in his eye, which, okay, that's some Superman shit. But outside of that, nothing happens for a lot of the movie. It's just very boring. And I just feel that that alone, Superman doesn't even throw a punch. We're in 2006. Keep in mind, I have said this for years. You had the Raimi Spider-Man film, and I think that's the other problem. Superman Returns did not evolve with the times. And that's going to tie into my biggest issue with the movie. You compare it to, think about the superhero movies we got at the time, up until 2006. The Blade movies, the first two. I'm mainly talking the first two. I am not counting three. The first, up until that point, two Spider-Man movies from Sam Raimi, which Spider-Man 2 alone is like one of the greatest comic book films ever made. It's like in my top 10. And even the first Spider-Man's really good. The first two X-Men movies, which unfortunately Bryan Singer doing this movie fucked up X3, which we'll tie into. That's the other reason I'll do X3 next week. Do a revisionist history, because this actually kind of does tie into X3. So we'll do X3 sometime next week. And I feel the same way. Like, why did Bryan Singer leave this movie to do X3? I mean, to do Superman, when he fucked this movie, which fucked up X3. And also, you brought in James Marsden, who, great actor, but what did he actually do in this movie? He was just the guy Lois was fucking, which, that, oh man. Alright, let's, really quick, subscribe to Cowman Reviews. That is my new film review channel with me, my friend Cowman, and my friend Tyler, who's also my co-host on Pin Down. Subscribe to that. We just did our Superman review. Check that out. But also subscribe to Pin Down Podcast. As of now, we should be streaming Saturday for Pin Down. Subscribe also to Pin Down Podcast. But let's get into it. This movie is a piece of shit. So let's roast it. Let's talk about like the main issue with this movie. For one, they decided let's just redo the Donner movies. And I think that really severely hurt this movie, because I did a fixing of this a few years ago. They should have went, not saying exactly the Man of Steel route, but they should have went a different direction. Because it was 2006. You had all these great comic book films. Even with DC, the year before, you had Batman Begins. And you decide this is what you do. Let's just do a Donner Superman movie. I understand Bryan Singer was a big 78 Superman fan, and I understand too, you gotta understand the time Christopher Reeve had just died 2 years before. So I get the idea you want to do like in the vein of a Christopher Reeve Superman movie. Try to also too, up until that point, the Superman movie you had were Superman 3 and 4. So I understand they thought, okay, let's try to redeem the Superman movies, Christopher Reeve Superman movies, by trying to fix those two movies. But my thing was, you should have just went a new direction. Get a new score. I'll admit, as much as I like the score for Superman Returns, that's one of the few positives. They should have just went a new direction. I think that severely hurt the movie, was trying to continue the Reeves films. And I think that hurt Brandon Routh, because he didn't really get to show his Superman. If you watch him, as much as I don't like the CW shows and all that, there's a clip out there of him as Kingdom Come Superman from like I think it's the Crisis of the Infinite Earth story, and he is Kingdom Come Superman. He was really good, and he actually got to talk. That alone is one of the first issues. Superman barely fucking talks in this movie. outside of like a couple of scenes, he really does not talk, and it's insane. Brandon Routh did not even get to showcase his talent because he barely got to talk. And the fact that you decide to try to recreate the Donner movies just was not a good idea. You should have just went a new direction, and that hurt the movie. Because I even think Kevin Spacey could potentially have whatever we think of him in real life, and aside from all that, right? I think he could have been a good Lex, but the problem was he was trying to recreate the Hackman Lex, and I think that hurt the movie because he was just not good, in my opinion, in this. Because it was just a bad impression of Hackman's Lex, and it did not work. Also, really did not like, too, was just the fact it was boring. Like, nothing happens in this movie. Legit, nothing happens in this movie. Like, it's just boring for a lot of it. You got Superman being a fucking stalker. People could try to say that's exaggerated, but, like, let's be honest. He stalks Lois for a majority of the movie. And then the whole bastard kid thing, which I'm going to get into a bit more later. I just did not love that. Like, that's what we're having Superman do. Kate Bosworth was also just not a good Lois. One, I thought she was too young. She looked almost like Lois who got out of college. And it just did not work for me. Like, she would have worked in, like, the Smallville show. If Smallville had an extra season of Clark going to college or something, then yeah, I think definitely she would have fit there. She did not fit in this movie. Also, her writing and obviously the bastard kid stuff, she was just not likable as Lois, too. Like, I've always said Lois is a bit of a bitch. She always, that's just a thing. But she's a likable bitch, right? Like, there's a little... It's like with a dude, right? There's douchey characters. Like, there's dudes who are douchey characters, but you still like them. Like Spike or Crowley from Supernatural are like two characters when I think of they're douchebags, but they're still really... Even Dean, to an extent, from Supernatural. Douchebag, but still likable. Lois, I think, is the female equivalent of well-written Lois. Yeah, she's a bit of a bitch, but she's still she's still likable. And I don't think I got any of that in this movie. I just got she was a bitch, and also I don't like how young she was. She just looked really baby-faced, especially with Brandon Routh. And I just... Going back to Brandon Routh, I felt like he did not get a lot of just focus, and he did not get to really showcase his Superman because he barely got to talk. He was stuck with this really dog shit story. And there's some good things in this movie. I like the cinematography. I think Brandon Routh really showed he could have been a good Superman with that plane scene, but then he's not allowed to show it again. You never get a scene like that again in the whole movie. The closest was the scene where the bullet crushes in his eye, but that's more of a visual thing, which that was cool, but then you don't get another scene like that. You had the stupid Kryptonite Island. You had the whole stupid element with Lex fucking old ladies to get, like, basically real estate again. It's like, what are we doing? Because whatever you think of Kevin Spacey, I think he had potential to play a Lex if he was more similar to, like, let's say I think if this movie had gone more like the animated series route, you have him because it's fucked up. Thing is, in the game, Metallo's in the fucking game. Why wasn't he in the movie? Metallo should have been the thing that Superman actually fights, but Lex still like the actual manipulator in the actual story. He's like the secondary villain who may not be like the physical threat, but he also still is like in the background manipulating everything. I think you should have had him be that, and then had Metallo in the movie be like the physical. I think if they had gone that direction, I think the movie would have worked better. But they didn't. So you're stuck with just this boring fucking movie. And Parker Posey tried to be entertaining as Miss Tessmacher, but she doesn't save the movie enough for me. What else is another issue? The bastard kid element. Why was that in the movie? People can try to say, Clark didn't know he had a kid, but why was that in the movie? I have never, even as a kid, I thought that was kind of weird, but I still try to accept the movie at the time because, oh, it's Superman, that's how I looked at it at the time. But it's really bad. I really noticed it on my rewatch when I got older. I'm like, what the fuck? Why was this in the movie? Why would you write Superman to be a bastard dad who didn't even know he had a kid? Why was that in the fucking movie? Like, seriously. Why would you put that in the movie? I don't need to see Superman be a bastard dad. I already don't really like the idea of Superman having a kid anyway, because I'm just not a fan of heroes having kids unless it's like closer to the end of their story. And in the prime of their career, they should not have a kid. And I feel the same way about Superman. And because he wanted it, I understand Christopher Reeve had just died 2 years before. So you felt like you wanted to try to have some kind of ode to Christopher Reeve. I get that. But I really think you would have been better off going a different direction because I'm sorry. This did not feel like an ode to Christopher Reeve, making him a bastard dad who left the world for fucking like couple of years, which I didn't like. And then you had this whole white, must there be a Superman? And the thing is, you could have maybe made that interesting, but it just did not work. And I'm sorry, I think you should have got a different actress for Lois, and maybe the movie could have still worked. But they should have just went an all new route. I think fundamentally that killed the movie. Is trying to make this tied to the Christopher Reeve movies. And I understand you felt like you wanted to maybe try to redeem Superman 4, and then you had Superman 3 before that. So you had some really bad Superman movies up until this point. So I get the idea maybe you wanted to redeem Christopher Reeve Superman by giving him an extra movie, but you should have just went a new route. Because ultimately that decision killed this movie. Because we're in 2006. The amount of superhero movies that were evolved by this point, the X-Men movies, you had the Raimi Spider-Man movies, at least the first two X-Men movies. You had Batman Begins the year before. You had I'll even throw The Incredibles, even though that's like a Disney movie. Like you had a bunch of really good comic book films up until this point, and then you just decide, let's bring back Superman and just do a retread. Even in 2006, that just did not work. And a retread with a bastard dad, Superman being a bastard dad, an element that had also Superman just being a stalker the whole movie. He barely had any dialogue outside of the only real memorable dialogue was from the fucking plane scene when he's talking about how flying's not the most, flying's still not dangerous. Outside of that scene, he really did not have any memorable dialogue. The third act's all over the place. You have Lex saying, wrong! Which just felt like a meme. I think in the script, I bet they thought that sounded better, but when you actually watch it in the movie, it just came off goofy as fuck. You have Lex trying to, once again, get real estate and all this dumb shit, which just, I hate it. Because I think if they let Kevin Spacey be more of a comedy, of a Lex from the comics, I really believe this movie could have worked. Or even just the animated series. If he was his animated series Lex Luthor, and not this, retread of Gene Hackman's Lex, which y'all know, I'm just going to be honest, I'm not a fan of. I respect Gene Hackman, R.I.P., but I have never been a fan of his Lex. I always thought he was just dumb rich dude. That always bothered me. Because to me, Lex is not just dumb rich guy. And I think Kevin Spacey really could have been more closer to the comics if they just let him, but they didn't let him. They went with this, let's just be a retread of Hackman, and it was just goofy. And Lex and Superman scenes in that movie just never hit. It, to me, you would think and I had this issue with the new Superman movie, was Lex and Superman's dynamic should always shine through. That should be the best part of the movie. And both movies had this issue. I did not really care for Superman and Lex dynamic in it. And in this one, I didn't care for it because, one, it was just a retread of Hackman and Reeves and Christopher Reeve Superman of that dynamic. It was just a retread of that, but worse. The scenes at the fucking shitty Kryptonite Island just did not. That was terrible. And then Hackman, like, Kevin Spacey really was just Hackman's Lex. I could see Hackman's Lex saying the wrong scene. It was just badly done. And I just don't think either of the men got to showcase their talent. I don't think that either of them got to showcase their talent because they're stuck with just trying to retread something we had already seen. Even by 2006, I think they should have. And this is going to be a theme throughout this video. That's why the revisionist history bothers me. Like, oh, this movie is not that bad. It actually is pretty good. No, it's not. Warner Brothers in the back of their head, they had just brought Batman back. The Nolan trilogy, I don't know if it was fully planned out by this point, if it was just, like, in theory. You know damn well in their mind they wanted to do a Batman. They wanted to do a World's Finest movie for a long fucking time. So if this movie had been successful, let's be real, I think eventually they would have tried to merge. Maybe Christopher Nolan would have been against it, but you know damn well they would have thought about trying to merge Brandon Routh's Superman and Christian Bale's Batman. You know that was an idea because they had just came out a year apart. So that's what makes me believe that though Batman Begins did well, so let's try to do this and maybe we'll eventually get a World's Finest movie, and they just couldn't because they got in their own fucking way. Because I'm sorry, I respect the Donner movies, but they should have just went their own direction. I know I'm saying that a lot, but that really fundamentally hurt this movie, and that's what fundamentally, I think, killed it. Because you try to just be a retread, so I don't want to just keep repeating myself, so yeah, that's basically it. Like, this movie was not good. You had Brandon Routh not really say anything. That's why, for me, it's hard for me to really rank him as Superman because he didn't even get any dialogue. Whatever I think of David Cornsweet's Superman and all the bad writing with him, and it's not his fault, at least he got dialogue. At least he wasn't a stalker the whole fucking movie, which he was in this. Like, he just would stalk Lois, and it was just like, what the fuck? Why did they think that was a good idea? Why would I want to see Superman just stalk Lois? It was just all around just badly done, and I just don't care for this movie, so yeah, it's not a good movie, and it will never be a good movie, no matter how you try to spin it. I will say it's not as bad as the new Superman, because this is still a 1.5, and I give Superman a 1, but this is still bad. This is still a shit movie, and it always will be, so. But other than that, guys, I just wanted to get that out there. The next video, like I said, will probably be an F1 review, and then we'll do, probably another revisionist history, and then probably fixing will be after the F1 video. But other than that, guys, I call it here. Talk to y'all later. I'm gonna take one more hit. Subscribe to Cowman Reviews and Midnight Podcast. We'll be live for Pin Down on Saturday, and then Sunday we should be live for Cowman Reviews, which will be reviewing Independence Day, an actually good movie. So look out for both of those. But other than that, guys, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.